Borrow him?
Sirius' eyebrows furrow as he glances at James with a frown, and it takes him a moment. He blinks, then his eyebrows fly up.
Wait, you want him to be your...
He's perfect.
James declares. Sirius looks skeptical.
You hardly know him.
Yeah, so? That's not the important bit, remember? Who would be more shocking than him?
James argues.
Wait, Regulus.
Peter gasps out, finally getting it.
Regulus Black? Argumental prongs? No one would believe that. You'd be the talk of the whole school.
James nods eagerly.
Exactly, Peter.
All right, I've decided it's crucial that I know.
Remus mutters, propping up on one elbow. His leg curls up and bumps into Sirius' hip, which makes him freeze in place as if someone's just put him in a body bind. James half expects him to drop like a stone off the side of the bed.
What are you planning, and how does it involve Sirius' little brother?
Well, if Sirius would give me an answer.
James insists, waving his hands wildly to make Sirius blink.
HM? Oh, right. Sure.
Sirius mumbles, gaze trailing down to where Remus' knee is still pressing into his thigh, apparently very distracted by the contact.
Who knows? You could be a good influence on him.
Brilliant.
James says happily, pleased with this outcome.
Will someone tell me what's going on?
Remus asks, eyes narrowing, genuinely getting irritated now. Peter snorts.
A disaster in slow motion, Mooney, that's what.
Thank you for that vote of confidence, Pete.
James huffs, then shakes it off so he can smile at Remus.
What's happening is I'm about to date Regulus Black.
Remus stares at him, then lays back down and turns over entirely as he says, very simply.
Nope. Not doing this today.
Are you going to sleep now?
Sirius mumbles, frowning down at his thigh now that Remus' knee is no longer touching it. He glances at Remus' back and sighs.
Moony? Moons? Moonbeam? Moonshine? Are you really going to sleep now, Moon? Moony. Moonster. Messer Moony. Moo.
What, Sirius?
Remus snaps. Sirius jumps a little, then huffs.
Well, if you'd answered me to start with, then you.
Obviously I'm going to sleep, you cunt.
Don't call me a cunt.
Then stop being a cunt.
If anyone's being a cunt.
James tosses up his hands yet again and flops back onto his bed yet again, but this time, he fumbles for his wand to flick it at his bed hangings at almost the same exact time that Peter does, and they likely throw up silencing charms in unison as well. Sirius and Remus can go for hours once they get started. Instead of listening to them do their odd little dance where the only sort of release they get from all the pent-up feelings is just bickering, rather than the obvious shagging they should be doing, James lays back on his bed in the blissful silence and closes his eyes, thinking hard about his plan. Step 1, Regulus Black. James has failed Step 1. Regulus Black is laughing at him. Then, with a suddenness that's startling, the laughter cuts off as Regulus' face falls flat. He says, "No," before he turns right around and walks away. James sputters for a second, then springs forward to rush after him.
No? Why not? You didn't even let me finish.
I don't need to.
Regulus replies simply.
The answer is no.
Well, that's hardly fair, is it?
James mutters petulantly, lips tipping down in a frown.
You're not letting me make my argument. It's a very good argument.
I don't care to hear it.
Aren't you the least bit curious?
Regulus snorts.
I've literally never been less curious about anything in my life, Potter. Whatever you're planning, whatever joke this is, I want no part of it.
No, wait.
James says in a rush, jogging ahead a few steps to swing back around in front of Regulus.
This isn't a joke. I'm not taking the piss, or playing a prank. I genuinely want to be your fake boyfriend.
What the bloody hell even is a fake boyfriend?
Regulus asks, his eyes narrowing into slits. James purses his lips.
Well, it's like a real boyfriend, except we don't actually fancy each other.
Then why would we fake a relationship?
Well, I was about to get to that bit before you rudely interrupted and flounced off dramatically.
Don't mistake my incredulity with curiosity. I'm just appalled by your audacity, and I'm beginning to question your intelligence. I'd assumed, incorrectly it seems, that you'd have to be at least a little smart, considering who your parents are, but I should know better than most not to judge people based on their family, shouldn't I?
Regulus says, all snark, and then he swings around James and starts walking away again.
How are you a prick and also nice at the same time?
James mutters as he once again jogs after him, baffled the whole way there.
I mean, you've just insulted me and complimented my parents all at once. That's actually impressive.
Go away, Potter.
Regulus says flatly.
Call me James. You live in my bloody house, for Merlin's sake.
James replies, exasperated.
And, just so you know, there is a reason behind all this. Multiple reasons, actually. Do you want them chronologically or in order of importance?
I don't want them at all.
Let's start with how it'll benefit Sirius.
Regulus suddenly comes to a screeching halt and whirls towards him, eyes flashing. Did he put you up to this?
What? No. It's my idea. He knows, though. I told him.
You told him.
Of course. He's my best mate.
James says, and Regulus rolls his eyes so hard his head tips as he swings around and starts walking again. Huffing, James catches up yet again, making sure to keep pace with him.
Anyway, I think it would be good for him to be exposed to this sort of thing.
This sort of thing.
Regulus repeats, audibly suspicious. James clears his throat and treads carefully, needing to be very delicate about this.
Yes. As in, two men dating, even if it is fake. Like, you know, prolonged exposure to help him come around to the idea that it's possible.
Are you trying to say my brother hasn't come around to it?
What? Oh, you mean, no. No, that's not what I meant. Obviously he's aware that a bloke fancying other blokes is possible, because of you, but I mean past that, do you know what I mean?
You're talking about his thing with Lupin, aren't you?
Regulus asks him, arching an eyebrow, and James instantly internally panics. Some of it must read on his face, because Regulus' lips twitch slightly.
I'd have to be stupid to miss it, especially being a man who prefers the company of other men myself. Your solution to Sirius being an oblivious idiot is to pretend to date his little brother? Really?
I'm just saying, sometimes people get a clue when they have an idea of what something looks like.
James mumbles with a defensive frown. He thought it was a brilliant idea, but Regulus is looking at him like he's an idiot.
That's literally the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
You're very negative. Has anyone ever told you that?
I prefer the term realistic.
Regulus says, waving a hand casually.
Logical is an acceptable alternative.
Fine, moving along. Let's talk about how this is beneficial for you.
James declares, powering on. Regulus raises both eyebrows at him this time. He has very expressive eyebrows, James is learning.
In what possible way could this be beneficial to me?
I have a list. Do you want it alphabetically, or in order from least best to most best?
You are prepared, aren't you?
Regulus says sarcastically, and James grins helplessly, a little thrilled by the banter.
Go on, then. Tell me how you've ranked it.
Least best, but still a benefit nonetheless, is that I'm quite liked by a lot of people in this school, which means that you'll be granted the same positivity by extension.
That is not a benefit. That sounds like torture. I want people to leave me alone, not find more reasons to pester me.
Merlin, you've never looked on the bright side of anything in your life, have you?
It's not my first instinct, no.
James heaves a sigh.
Fine. Next, then. As the only gay person in Hogwarts.
I'm not the only gay person in Hogwarts.
Well, yeah, I know. Let me finish, would you? As the only gay person in Hogwarts that everyone knows is gay, you'll be making something of a statement having a boyfriend. In fact, you'll be making history, probably, just by having a shameless relationship. You'll be standing up for yourself and others like you, loud and proud. You could even end up encouraging others to be themselves and start living in the open, which should become normal anyway. Isn't that lovely?
And when someone tries to kill me for it?
Regulus prompts calmly, tilting his head a little, his pace slowing.
When, I beg your fucking pardon.
James blurts out, breaking out into a scowl immediately after.
Someone tried to kill you. When? Who was it?
Regulus slows to a complete stop, lips tipping down.
No one has. That's just my reality, Potter. That's what I have to watch out for and be constantly aware of.
Has someone hurt you?
James mutters.
Most people know better.
Regulus replies calmly, but his lips press into a thin line.
It's fine. I can handle myself.
Well, as your fake boyfriend, I would absolutely be willing to beat the ever-loving shit out of someone for bothering you about that. Also just in general, by the way. Anytime, any place.
James tells him, not at all joking.
Serious as well, of course. Then there's Remus and Peter, who also absolutely would, too. Just, if something ever happens, and you need help, find one of us.
I said I can handle myself.
Regulus snaps.
I don't need help.
That sounds exactly like something someone who needs help would say, you know.
You're infuriating. Has anyone ever told you that?
James chuckles.
I prefer the term, endearing. Charming is an acceptable alternative.
Oh, please.
Regulus scoffs, shaking his head before he turns and sets off yet again.
Next on the list.
James continues, keeping up with him from the start this time. He's learning to anticipate his cues.
You'll get to experience having a boyfriend.
What?
Well, you're gay. You must want to know what it's like to date a bloke, even if it's not actually real.
Regulus comes to an abrupt halt again, staring at him in genuine disbelief. How does your head not drag the ground, as big as it is? Potter, why on earth would I want to experience having a boyfriend I don't even want? Do you go about dating girls just to see what it's like, even if you don't fancy them? No? So, why would it be any different for me?
Well, it won't be, really, but I just mean.
James frowns, trying to find the right words for this.
It's like this, yeah. Everyone else gets to do these things. They get to hold hands and go on dates to Hogsmeade and embrace in the hallways. Why shouldn't you get to, just because you fancy men? I know I'm not precisely who you want, but I think you should get to do as little or as much as you like, just as everyone else does.
But what's the point if it's not with someone I want to do it with?
Regulus insists, though the edge to his voice has softened considerably, less angry now. Still annoyed, though.
You might not want to do it with me, but it'd still be nice, wouldn't it? Getting to do it just like everyone else. Surely it wouldn't be torture.
James grumbles.
You're offended. Why are you offended? How do you have any right to be offended right now?
It's just, I mean, you're acting like I'm a troll, Regulus.
Merlin and Morgana both. You're offended because you think I don't find you appealing?
Regulus says, huffing out a soft laugh of disbelief.
James scratches the side of his neck. Do you find me appealing?
I'm not doing this with you. Not today. Not ever. Find someone else to stroke your ego.
Regulus mutters, starting to turn again, but James snaps his hand out to catch his arm.
What the fuck is so off-putting about me?
James blurts out in genuine distress.
Will someone just tell me what I'm doing wrong? Preferably in small statements, because apparently I'm too much of a fucking idiot to understand otherwise.
Self-deprecation isn't attractive, for one thing.
Regulus says dryly, flicking his wand flippantly, hitting James' hand on his arm with a mild, wordless stinging jinx. James yelps and snatches his hand back, but Regulus doesn't seem sympathetic in the least.
Also, you're very misleading. You've promised a list of benefits, and so far, you've failed to name even one.
I'll have you know that I've named multiple. You're simply a tough crowd due to your cynicism.
James says, frowning and rubbing the back of his hand.
Fine, here's the best one. I'm going to absolutely spoil you.
Regulus blinks.
Spoil me.
Yes. As your fake boyfriend, I'm going to treat you as if I'm your real one, which means I'm going to spoil you. As the pretend object of my affections.
Not an object.
Bloody hell, Regulus, it's a phrase. A common turn of phrase. Obviously you're not an object.
James resists the urge to reach up and rub his temples. Maybe he needs to reevaluate this plan. 10 minutes with Regulus, and he already has a fucking headache. But no, James loves a challenge. This is fine. It'll be fine.
As the pretend person of my affections, you will be the recipient of the full James Potter love interest package, which means you'll get whatever you damn well want, and it comes with the deluxe offer of keeping me as a very loyal friend when it's all over.
You had me, then you lost me.
Regulus says. James tosses his hands up.
There's just no pleasing you.
Not really, no. It's fun to watch you try, though.
I'm moving past this, because I feel like I'm about to tear my hair out. It's like trying to get blood out of a sodding stone. That's what talking to you is like. Actually, I'd have better luck getting blood out of stone, at this point.
And yet you keep trying.
Regulus mocks lightly.
You'd be doing me a huge favor.
James continues, ignoring Regulus being a prat.
Because, well, you see.
He takes a deep breath, then lets it out.
You know Lily Evans, yeah?
Sure.
I don't know if you're aware, but I'm helplessly in love with her. I've been in love with her since I was 11. I'll be in love with her until I'm dead. She's it, you know. She's the one. There will never be anyone else but her, for me.
Regulus stares at him for a beat, then says,
Are you waiting for me to care?
You are so mean.
James complains, practically whining.
I just don't understand why you think this would matter to me as someone who doesn't care about you or Lily Evans, and also as a man who doesn't fancy women at all. It's not as if I can relate.
Regulus tells him. James groans.
What does that have to do with anything? You can relate to love, if nothing else. It's not about who you love, the important bit is the love.
No, I can't relate to that either. I've never been in love.
Oh. Well, I'm sure you'll experience it one day.
Yay.
Regulus says monotonously.
Oh, Merlin.
James chokes out, trying desperately not to laugh, but he can't really help it. Regulus' deadpan expression and dry tone in his delivery tickles something in James that makes it impossible for him not to find him humorous. Regulus watches him laugh, seemingly bored of the sight, then looks away.
If you're in love with Lily Evans, why exactly are you asking to be my fake boyfriend?
He suddenly glances at James sharply, eyes narrowed into slits.
If you're trying this in some ridiculous attempt to make her jealous.
No. No, of course not.
James says quickly, shaking his head frantically.
That's not the goal at all. I never want her to feel bad. No, what I'm aiming for here is to show her that I'd be a great boyfriend. We're friends, you know, but I think she doesn't see me as anything else because I've never really been anything else, to anyone. How is she to know what she's missing if she's never even seen it?
Regulus stares at him, mouth hanging open in vague dismay, eyebrows furrowed. It takes him a moment, but then he shakes his head, his face smoothing out.
You know when you get a chocolate frog, and you bust the seal, but you don't grab the frog in time, so it's just hopping about like mad? That's what your brain is like, Potter.
James frowns.
Wait, that's a really good description of what it feels like sometimes, actually. I swear it's like it hops away from me, you know, and it's my sodding head.
Have you considered that Evans doesn't see you as anything other than a friend because she doesn't see you as anything other than a friend?
Regulus asks, emphasizing the words like he's explaining them to a toddler.
But what if she could see me as more if I showed her that I can be more?
James insists.
She used to despise me, really, and then I had to show her that I'm not the arrogant prat that she thought I was, and then we became friends. What if it's the same situation as that, but just the next level of it, yeah?
Regulus closes his eyes and shakes his head again, looking pained, then he opens them and sighs.
And your solution to this is me? Pretending to be my boyfriend?
Yeah. It's actually bloody brilliant, if you think about it. Everyone will leave happy. I'm going to fake date my way into falling in love.
James announces grandly, sticking his hand out and waving it through the air like he's presenting a banner.
This is your very good argument?
Yes.
Right.
Regulus pauses, then hums.
The answer is still no.
James' mouth drops open.
But.
No. Regulus repeats, then turns and walks away yet again, completely ignoring as James rushes to keep up with him. As soon as James opens his mouth to protest, Regulus cuts in to interrupt with a firm.
I said no. I'm beginning to think you don't know the meaning of the word.
It's not a definition I'm overly familiar with.
No, Potter. That's a word in which I'm telling you in one syllable and two letters to piss off.
I've already told you, Regulus. Call me James, would you? Also, can you at least?
James cuts himself off when Regulus turns abruptly and sits down at a desk. He gives a violent blink and looks around in surprise to find that he's followed Regulus into a classroom, which has multiple other sixth-year students, Slytherin and Ravenclaw, settling in.
Mr. Potter.
Comes the sharp voice that makes him jolt and immediately lean casually against the desk, aiming for aloof as he braces his hand in front of Regulus and turns to flash Professor McGonagall a broad grin.
The last I checked, Mr. Potter, you are not a sixth-year Slytherin or Ravenclaw, so pray tell, why are you in my classroom at the moment?
Oh, I thought it would be productive for me to get a hands-on review of what I've learned from your excellent tutelage over the years, but specifically.
James raises his arm to scratch the side of his head, darting a quick glance down at Regulus' parchment, where he has some notes scrawled out in neat handwriting.
But specifically Crinus Muto. Ha. Yes, I did enjoy that lesson, if you remember. Very much. So, why not do it again?
Everyone stares at him, and Professor McGonagall heaves a sigh like she's very, very tired.
Potter.
Yes, Professor.
Get out.
Yes, Professor.
James mumbles, his shoulders drooping as he pushes himself up and shuffles away. When he gives one final glance back, Regulus' lips are curled up at the corners in a tiny, secret smile that fills James with a new wave of determination.